Alright, guys, so this is going to be a fun crossover idea. I've had in my head for a few days, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to share it with the whole world. And that is Ed, and Eddy versus Dungeons and Dragons. Yep. I thought this would be a really fun one to do, mostly because, in a weird way, it works. Like, it really does, it really, in a weird way, does kind of work, in that it's this dumb, ridiculous idea that that could literally do anything. It could literally be anything, and yeah. So let's get started with the story. So the story is that Ed and Eddy are rummaging around Ed's attic. They've gone into, and Double D already hates this. Like, Double D is already like, ugh, this is disgusting. You know, Ed, how can you live like this? This is unsanitary. How in the world are you living like this? And Ed's like, it's a cornucopia of filth, and I love it. And while they're looking for stuff, because Eddy's up here looking for like stuff they could probably sell, and make some quick change to get some jawbreaker money. And during all this, Ed discovers a first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. He discovers a whole box set of Dungeons and Dragons, and he's like, Dungeons and Dragons, guys. And Eddy's like, oh god, that's lame nerd stuff, Ed. Just throw it away. Maybe we could sell it for like kindling or something. And then as Ed's setting up the board, he's like, come on guys, let's make our character sheets. And Double D gets into it, and Eddy is actually like, wait, I thought you hated this fantasy crap, Double D. What's going on here? Why are you, all of a sudden into the idea of a Dungeons and Dragons? So Double D explains that while he doesn't really care much for the fantasy element, he does like the whole mathematician and strategic elements of it. And Eddy's just like, oh good, math and wizard crap. Count me out. So Eddy tries to leave, but Ed goes, no, need 3 players for party. So Eddy gets talked into it and forced into it, and they write down their character sheets. So Double D is a cleric who, he's more of the healer. We also have Eddy, who makes himself a thief. And then we have Ed, who makes himself into a barbarian, and you can probably guess what he names himself: Lothor. But however, something goes awry, because if you're wondering, yes, this is going exactly where you think it's going. Yep. Basically, what happens is that when Ed and Eddy start playing the game, something is different with this one, because the game comes alive and turns the entire cul-de-sac into a fantasy world. And all the other Ed and Eddy characters are like, what the hell is going on? And they're all turned into different things. They do know they're still the same person, but they're changed into different people. And now the cul-de-sacs become like a medieval village, and now full of all kinds of monsters and whatnot that are all roaming around and, hunting for people. So Ed and Eddy are like turned into the characters they made up, and Ed thinks this is the coolest thing ever, while Eddy and Double D's brains are already breaking at the thought of, well, all of this. And they're already like, oh my god, this is too much. This is too, like, what did we do, man? And Ed explains, adventure and treasure, and immediately Eddy's like, treasure? What are you waiting for, Lumpy? Let's go. let's go on a quest. He's like, yeah, let's go, Lump Thor, let's go get our money. So of course they run into the other characters, who are all like, all sorts of different characters and whatnot. Rolf is a barbarian troll. You have Kevin, who has made himself into a druid. Jimmy is a bard. They're just all different characters, and everyone is all blaming, like, Dungeons and Dorks over here decided to make, basically unleashed a game that, you know, has turned all of us into different people. So we, you know, you better fix this dork or we're going to flay you, because we can do that now. So the only way they discover is that the only way to, you know, reverse all of this is that they have to, because Ed made up a whole quest for them. Ed was he was going to be both the cast member and, you know, a member of the party and a dungeon master, which Double D points out you can't really do that. And Ed was like, I found that game, Double D. I make the rules. So they have to complete Ed's quest that he made up for the team, for the trio, and they have to complete it. They have to complete it without dying. So the quest in question is that they have to go off into a far off forest full of all kinds of monsters and goblins and orcs and dragons and whatnot, and fight their way to a castle full of riches and retrieve a crown. That's the end of the quest. So they have to go into this castle, defeat an evil necromancer, and and win the day. So they have to complete Ed's quest. So the trio, so Eddy's like, count me out, and Ed goes, "But Eddy, adventure!" And Double D goes, "I'll handle this. There's treasure, Eddy." And he's like, "What? All right, treasure. Let's go. Let's go save the kingdom." So they embark, and already, as you can imagine, this goes about as well as you can think, because, yeah, it's the Eds in a fantasy world, and it doesn't go as well as you think. So they basically have to run afoul with goblins. They run afoul with a troll and golems and all kinds of monsters. And they're all basically they have no idea of how to fight, and they really just depend on Ed, who, if you remember from the Halloween special, just goes roided out, and they depend on Ed to just smash his way through everything. So the three do run into some extra help, because, yeah, the Kanker sisters are out here, and they've become Marie is a rogue. May is a druid, and Lee is a bard. So they join the party even because they've lost the trailer park to monsters. So they have to do now a side quest in order to save the trailer park from a group of orcs who have moved in and taken over. So they move in, they have to help, and in turn, the party of now 6 can now go on a quest to stop the necromancer that Ed created and save the kingdom. So they all go. And also, I wanted to have this fun scene where, like, May turns into a giant owl bear, and Ed thinks it's the most cute, the most adorable thing ever, so he wants to pet May, and when she changes back, he's like, "Ah!" So the team goes into the castle to battle the necromancer, and he basically unleashes like a giant, like, undead dragon on all of them. And it's the point where Eddy's like, "Nope, I'm out." So he runs off deeper into the castle and thinks he found the chest, but instead he found a decoy, like a mimic chest, and it tries to eat him. Goes about as well as you think for poor Eddy. But by the end of it all, Ed and the rest of the group slay the necromancer, they reclaim the crown, and the quest is done. And yeah, Eddy, when he finds out that everything's leaving, like, he's trying to furiously gather as much gold coins and jewels as he can, but unfortunately it all turns to dust when everything gets turned back into it. And Double D thinks, "We should keep this marvelous item. It breaks the bonds of reality. We must study it in the name of science." And Lee goes, "No." It just grabs it and chucks it as far as she can into the next town over. And poor Eddy's like, "No, my gold!" and chases after it. So, there you go, guys. That is Ed, Edd n Eddy versus Dungeons & Dragons. This was a story, like, when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. This was going to be a fun fan fiction idea. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Ed, Edd, and Eddy versus Dungeons and Dragons? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.